Lamborghini LP700, worth more than $8 million after a major accident, was bought by Henry with $50,000. From the situation shown in the video, the car was badly damaged. The left front part of the car was directly knocked out. The structure of the car was also affected to some extent. The front end of the chassis is sinking a bit, but the good thing is that the engine does not seem to suffer any problems. Before bringing the car back, Henry first wired the battery, briefly charged it for a while. Then he went inside the car and tried to start the beast. I didn't expect it to go so well. The low sound of this V12 engine. It sounds very sexy, as long as there are no problems with the big parts. Then the restoration can't be too slow. Then Henry went to the area where the car was damaged. This is mainly the calipers of the Lamborghini, and the various parts inside. One of the control arms was completely broken at the end of a bent tie rod. The wheels are also badly worn. Since this was Henry's first Lamborghini restoration, so he wasn't sure if these damaged parts are sold separately at the dealership. If they had to be purchased as a package, the cost would have been much higher. Also, on the inside of the car, some small parts basically came off, including the front reversing mirror. At the scene of the accident, it should be this mirror. The windshield was broken. After a brief inspection of the car's condition, Henry did not intend to take the car back for the time being, but directly in the scrapyard to do simple treatment. Remove as much of the broken parts as possible. He worked with the scrapyard staff, soon finished the initial work, but because the screws were so badly twisted, it took a lot of work to finish this part. In the meantime, Henry ordered new parts. While waiting for them to arrive, he first disconnected, opened the wiring in the front of the car, followed by removing the doors. The damage to this part was minimal. Basically, there was nothing wrong with it, but after removing it, the working space will be bigger, easy to refurbish the interior. After all the disassembly was done, Henry put the car on hold. He spent the next few days to study the Lamborghini operating manual and manuals and figured out the detailed structure of the car. A solid foundation was laid for the subsequent assembly. After about a week, the delivery he had ordered arrived. Inside were mainly metal parts such as control coins, but it was obvious that they were second-hand. No matter what, as long as the function is normal, it can be used. Also can save part of the cost. Why not do it? Also arrived with a brand new wheel. Looks in very good condition. There is also a frosted black paint on the surface. It is not too much to call it a work of art, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is a label inside the paper bag. It is mounted in the middle of the wheel, so to speak. It is because of this emblem. This wheel can be sold at a very high price. Henry is a smart guy. He bought the two parts separately. Naturally, the cost can be much lower. The next major task is to Lamborghini LP700, worth more than $8 million. After a major accident, Henry bought it for $50,000. Since there is no lift at the scrapyard, and not even a decent stand, so he opted for a forklift. This will have more space to operate, but Henry was afraid to put it under the car because the safety cannot be guaranteed. He took the newly purchased control coin, standing on the side, and carefully assembled. The structure here is not complicated. Under Henry's manipulation, the function was soon perfected. Then the two put on the brake discs and calipers. Just then, the helper on the side, with a can of something like lubricant. To the caliper is a spray. Here I do not understand a little, because the working principle of brakes is the use of brake pads and brake stack set the friction between the tires and the ground, the vehicle, kinetic energy of the vehicle into frictional buzz, thus stopping the car. And if this can of stuff is lubricant, will greatly reduce the friction force, thus affecting the braking effect. Maybe I am a bit ignorant. Do you know what this is before the video? Can you tell me more about it? After this part is done, Henry maneuvers the forklift again, lowered the Lamborghini to a lower height, and then a tire was put on. Now the car is finally on the ground, and it had a touch of supercar style. While Henry was installing the tires, the assistant who was standing by took off the front windshield and also prepared the new one. I'd say he was pretty reckless. He did it all by himself. If the new glass was broken, that would be a direct loss. Henry first inspected the glass, then he cleaned the rubber band. The residue of the rubber band to clean. The process of installing the windshield must be careful enough. The resident hand first went around the frame and applied a layer of sealant, then fixed the suction cups on the windshield. Here he was still operating alone. Showed off in front of Henry. I think it was a drop. Probably he will never do so again, but the process went well. The final cleaning of the surface. The car instantly had a new look. Although this Lamborghini was still in a state of disrepair, but Henry's assistant was very excited. He wanted to see what it was like to drive a supercar. After charging the battery for a while, he started the car. It was a top supercar, even though it hadn't been refurbished. But I was already overwhelmed by the aura of dominance. Stop laughing in the car. Henry promised him, when the car is finished, he will take him for a ride. But accidents always come so suddenly. The two of them did not have time to be happy. The car suddenly stalled. The people decided that it was the battery. The car had been idle for a long time. The wiring deterioration should be very serious. It is possible that the battery was burned just now, but after some investigation, found that there was only some loose wiring. While the crowd was still rejoicing, Henry received some new packages. In a very small cardboard box, contained a side turn signal. I'd say the light was too small. If it was on a brightly Lamborghini L finished. It looks great.